Sir, step out of the vehicle. Whose BMW is this? It's mine, officer. I just finished my shift. Yours? I don't think so. Guys like you don't drive cars like this unless they're borrowed or stolen. Which one is it? Neither. I paid for it. It's registered in my name. Yeah, right. What do you really do? Landscaping, construction. I'm a doctor, cardiothoracic surgeon at St. Michael's Hospital. Sure you are. And I'm the president. Step out now. Hands where I can see them. At 11:47 p.m. outside a quiet suburban gas station, a decorated heart surgeon was treated like a criminal. What began as a simple stop to refuel after a 14-hour shift saving lives turned into a confrontation captured on multiple cameras. The officer who approached him claimed he was recovering a stolen vehicle, a vehicle the doctor had purchased and registered 3 years earlier. Within minutes, that false accusation would ignite one of the most controversial police investigations the city had seen in years. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you're watching from, and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. The body cam that recorded the encounter belonged to Officer Kevin Marsh, a patrol cop known in Riverside County for his aggressive stops and what he called protecting the neighborhood. Marsh had built a reputation for pulling over drivers who didn't look like they belonged in nice vehicles or affluent areas. His supervisors called it proactive policing. His targets called it something else entirely. On that particular night, Marsh was cruising through the upscale suburb of Westbrook Heights, windows down, scanning every car with the same suspicion he reserved for people who didn't match his idea of who belonged there. When his patrol car rolled past the Chevron station, Marsh slowed down. His eyes locked onto the sleek black BMW M5 parked at Pump 4, but it wasn't the car that caught his attention. It was the driver. Dr. Ricardo Mendez, 46 years old, had just completed a grueling 14-hour shift at St. Michael's Hospital. 3 open-heart surgeries, 2 emergency consultations, 1 life saved that everyone else had given up on. He was exhausted, still wearing his surgical scrubs under a light jacket, his hospital ID badge clipped to his pocket. All he wanted was gas and the 30-minute drive home to see his kids before they fell asleep. He didn't notice the patrol car at first, not until Marsh pulled in sharply and parked diagonally behind the BMW, blocking any possibility of exit. The sudden move made Dr. Mendez look up from the pump, confusion crossing his tired face. Marsh stepped out of his cruiser with the kind of confidence that suggested he'd already decided what was happening here. He didn't introduce himself. He didn't ask questions. He simply stared at the BMW, then at the man standing beside it, and shook his head slowly. "Sir, step away from the vehicle." Dr. Mendez blinked, surprised by the tone. "Is there a problem, officer?" Instead of answering, Marsh circled the BMW like he'd stumbled onto a crime scene. He ran his hand across the hood, checking for heat, then crouched to inspect the plates. His movements were theatrical, designed to intimidate. "This your car?" "Yes, sir, it is." Marsh laughed. Not a chuckle. A short, dismissive bark that echoed across the empty station. "Right, because guys like you usually drive $70,000 cars." "Where'd you really get it?" The words landed heavy. Dr. Mendez straightened, years of dealing with difficult situations in the ER kicking in. "Stay calm. De-escalate. Document everything later." "Officer, I purchased this vehicle 2 years ago. It's registered in my name. I'm a surgeon at St. Michael's Hospital. My ID is right here." He gestured toward his badge. Marsh didn't even look at it. "A surgeon? That's creative. Let me guess, you probably borrowed scrubs from the janitor too. Makes for a good cover story." Dr. Mendez felt the familiar weight of exhaustion mixing with something else now. Frustration, anger, but he kept his voice level. "Officer Marsh." He read the name tag clearly, deliberately. "I've been on my feet for 14 hours saving lives. I just want to get gas and go home to my family. Is there an actual reason for this stop?" Marsh stepped closer, invading the doctor's personal space. "Yeah, there's a reason. We've had reports of stolen vehicles matching this description in the area, and you don't exactly fit the profile of someone who'd own a car like this legally." "What profile is that?" Marsh smirked. "Don't play games with me. You people come up here, drive fancy cars, think you can blend in, but I've been doing this job for 15 years. I know when something doesn't add up." You people. The words hung in the air like poison. Dr. Mendez took a slow breath. Officer, I'm an American citizen. I was born in Texas. I graduated from Johns Hopkins Medical School. I've been practicing medicine for 18 years, and right now you're profiling me based on my appearance. Marsh's face hardened. I'm doing my job, and my job says this car might be stolen, so here's what's going to happen. You're going to step away from the vehicle, put your hands on the hood, and wait while I verify everything. If you've got nothing to hide, this'll be quick. I'm not putting my hands on anything. I haven't committed any crime. Marsh's hand moved to his belt, resting near his cuffs. That sounded a lot like resistance to me. A gas station attendant had stepped out of the convenience store now, watching nervously through the glass. Across the lot, a woman filling her minivan had stopped mid-pump, phone already raised. Dr. Mendez noticed the cameras, the body cam on Marsh's chest, the security cameras above the pumps, the phone across the lot. Everything was being recorded. Officer, I'm going to reach into my pocket and show you my hospital credentials. Slowly. Don't you move. Marsh's voice rose sharply. You reach for anything, and this goes a different direction real fast. I'm reaching for my ID, nothing else. Dr. Mendez moved deliberately, pulling out his hospital badge and physician's license. He held them up so Marsh could see clearly. Dr. Ricardo Mendez, Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery, St. Michael's Medical Center. Marsh glanced at the credentials, then back at the doctor's face. Something flickered in his expression. Doubt, maybe. But it was quickly replaced by stubbornness. Anyone can fake those. Doesn't prove the car is yours. Then run the plates, call it in. You'll see it's registered to me at my home address in Westbrook Heights. You live in Westbrook Heights? The disbelief in Marsh's voice was almost comical. For 8 years, 3 houses down from Councilman Peters. Would you like his number? The mention of the councilman made Marsh pause, but only for a second. I don't care who your neighbors are. Until I verify this vehicle, you're not going anywhere. He reached for his radio. Dispatch, this is Unit 14. I need a check on a black BMW. Plate number Alpha Charlie 7429. Possible stolen vehicle. The radio crackled. A few seconds of silence that felt like hours. Then the dispatcher's voice came through. Unit 14, that vehicle is registered to Ricardo Mendez. Address 847 Oakwood Drive, Westbrook Heights. No reports of theft. Registration is current. Owner has no warrants. Marsh's jaw tightened. Dr. Mendez didn't move, didn't gloat. Just stood there with the quiet dignity of a man who had dealt with life and death every day and wasn't about to be rattled by a badge and an attitude. Are we done here, officer? Marsh didn't answer right away. His face was flushed, caught between admitting he was wrong and doubling down. Before he could decide, another patrol car pulled into the station. Sergeant Diana Walsh stepped out, a 20-year veteran who'd heard the radio exchange and didn't like what she was hearing. Marsh, what's going on here? Marsh straightened. Routine stop, Sarge. Suspicious vehicle, just being thorough. Sergeant Walsh looked at Dr. Mendez, his scrubs, his hospital badge, the exhaustion in his eyes. Then she looked at the BMW, clearly well-maintained, clearly not stolen. She turned back to Marsh, her voice low but sharp enough to cut. Did you run the plates before approaching him? Marsh hesitated. I was about to. So you stopped a man, accused him of stealing his own car, and detained him without running a simple plate check first. He matched a description. What description, Kevin? The description of a Hispanic man driving a nice car. The silence that followed was deafening. Dr. Mendez spoke quietly. Sergeant, I've identified myself, my credentials have been verified, my plates have been run. I would like to leave now. Sergeant Walsh nodded. Of course, Doctor. I apologize for this. Deeply. She shot Marsh a look that promised a very different conversation later. As Dr. Mendez turned back to his car, Marsh muttered something under his breath. Not quite quiet enough. These people always play the victim. Dr. Mendez stopped. He turned slowly, his voice steady but cold. What did you just say? Marsh said nothing. That's what I thought. Dr. Mendez got into his BMW, started the engine, and pulled away. Calm, controlled, dignified. But in his rearview mirror, he could see Sergeant Walsh already on her radio. And Officer Marsh standing alone under the harsh fluorescent lights, his career beginning to unravel one recorded word at a time. If you believe that dignity should never be questioned based on appearance, share this story and let others know that accountability matters. The footage went viral within hours, not the body cam. That would take days to be released through official channels. But the woman at the minivan had captured almost everything. 8 minutes of crystal-clear video showing Officer Marsh's entire approach, every accusation, every dismissive comment, and the moment he muttered those final words. By morning, the clip had 3 million views. By afternoon, it was on every major news network. Local headlines screamed the story. Decorated heart surgeon detained for driving his own car. Officer under investigation for racial profiling. Mendez didn't seek the spotlight. He didn't give interviews that first day. He went home, hugged his children, and tried to sleep, but sleep wouldn't come. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard the words, "Guys like you people." These people always play the victim. He'd heard variations his whole life, through medical school, through residency. Every time he walked into a room and watched someone's expression shift when they realized their surgeon didn't look like what they expected. But this was different. This was documented. This was undeniable. And this time he wasn't going to let it go. The hospital released a statement the next morning, confirming Dr. Mendez's position and expressing full support. The chief medical officer called the incident disgraceful. Colleagues flooded social media with testimonials about the lives he'd saved, the impossible surgeries he'd pulled off, the kind of doctor he was. Civil rights organizations reached out before noon. Attorneys lined up to offer representation. But Dr. Mendez took his time. He gathered every piece of evidence, the body cam footage, which showed even more than the civilian video. The dispatch recordings, Officer Marsh's personnel file, obtained through a public records request, which revealed 12 prior complaints of discriminatory stops, all buried, all ignored. 3 weeks after the gas station incident, Dr. Mendez filed a federal lawsuit, $8.5 million, unlawful detention, racial profiling, violation of constitutional rights, emotional distress. The filing was precise, documented, devastating, and when the city's attorneys saw the evidence, they knew immediately. This wasn't a case they could win. Officer Kevin Marsh was suspended within 48 hours of the lawsuit being filed, not administrative leave, full suspension without pay. The internal investigation moved faster than anyone expected, fueled by public pressure and the undeniable video evidence. Every one of Marsh's previous stops was reviewed. Patterns emerged that should have been caught years earlier. 73% of his discretionary stops involved minorities. 81% of those resulted in no charges. He wasn't protecting the neighborhood, he was targeting it. 6 weeks after that night at the gas station, the department announced its decision. Officer Kevin Marsh was terminated, fired for gross misconduct, discriminatory policing, and conduct unbecoming an officer. His certification was revoked. He would never wear a badge again. The union tried to fight it. They failed. Marsh gave one interview after his termination. He claimed he was just doing his job. He claimed he was being made an example of. He never apologized. He never admitted he was wrong. The settlement came 3 months later, $8.5 million, one of the largest in the city's history for a case that didn't involve physical injury. But Dr. Mendez made it clear from the beginning, this was never about the money. He donated $2 million to scholarship funds for Latino medical students. Another $1 million went to police reform advocacy organizations. The rest he put into a foundation bearing his mother's name, dedicated to fighting discrimination in healthcare. At the press conference announcing the settlement, Dr. Mendez finally spoke publicly. His words were measured. His tone was calm. But the weight behind them silenced the room. I have spent my entire career saving lives. Black lives, white lives, brown lives. Lives that others had given up on. I don't ask my patients where they come from before I open their chests. I don't ask what kind of car they drive or what neighborhood they live in. I just do my job. All I ask is to be treated with the same basic dignity that I give to everyone who comes through my operating room doors. He paused, looking directly into the cameras. What happened to me that night happens to people every day. People without hospital badges, people without lawyers, people without cameras watching. And most of the time, there are no consequences. That has to change. Not tomorrow. Not eventually. Now. The room was silent. Officer Marsh watched the press conference from his apartment, alone, unemployed, unhirable. Every security company had rejected his applications. Every law enforcement agency had blacklisted his name. The video followed him everywhere, would follow him forever. One moment of arrogance, one night of assumptions, and everything he thought he was entitled to was gone. 3 months after the settlement, Dr. Mendez was back at work. Same hospital, same operating room, same impossible cases that no one else would take. But something had changed, not in him, in the system around him. The police department implemented mandatory bias training, real training, not the half-day seminars that officers slept through. Every discretionary stop was now reviewed, body cam footage was audited weekly, and the chief of police personally called Dr. Mendez to inform him that his case was being used in training academies across the state. One night at a gas station. One man who refused to accept disrespect. One moment that shifted, even slightly, how an entire system operated. Dr. Mendez never drove past that Chevron station again. He didn't need to. The memory wasn't something he wanted to revisit, but every time he stepped into his operating room, every time he held a human heart in his hands, he remembered why he fought. Not for himself, for everyone who came after. Because sometimes the most powerful response to hatred isn't anger. It's excellence, it's dignity. It's refusing to be diminished by someone else's ignorance. And that is something no one can ever take away. If you believe that everyone deserves to be treated with respect, regardless of what they look like or what they drive, hit that subscribe button. Because stories like this need to be told, and people like Officer Marsh need to know that the world is watching. See you in the next one.